Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ty, and this is Reality Table Talk. I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions on the latest episodes of the reality shows we all love to watch. Now, my thoughts are my thoughts, and the reviews I share are from my perspective. But I can guarantee that at least a few of us are thinking the same things while we're watching these shows. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my table. And if you're a return viewer, thank you so much for joining me again. I just want to remind you all to please like, share, and subscribe. If you dig this review, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It's a free and easy way to support this channel and its growth. And y'all, I am back with an all new review for the Never Ever Mets Season 2, Episode 4. And y'all, we start back off with Charlie and Jared, who are laying up in the women's quarters talking. Keke is in her bed, knocked out, and she has an unopened Coca-Cola sitting on her nightstand. So Jared steals it before Keke can find out, before she wakes up and notices that it's gone. And then he tells Charlie he'll be right back. So he heads on downstairs to sit with Cinco and Chris. Jared asks them how they're feeling after the game they played last night and the ish talking that they were doing after that game. Chris is glad the ladies didn't hear them talking stuff, and Cinco has nothing to worry about because he and his lady Jay are good and he wasn't saying a word. Jared says if Charlie had heard him, they would have been leaving that house right then and there. Now, during that game, he anonymously wrote down that if he had to decide right then to keep moving forward with Charlie, he would have said F nah. Because the thought of raising her 4 kids and his two kids together was way too much. So now tensions are high in the house, but it is what it is. Chris said he wrote down no in the moment about leaving the house with Alexis and that he was being petty, but today he would want to write it out and see what happens. So maybe. Brandon joins the fellas and he says Keke wanted to talk to him about his no response, and he told her he didn't want to talk to her right then. He felt bad because he does actually want to talk to her about how he's feeling, but at the same time, he doesn't feel bad. And I get that because I think if he had talked to her right then, he would have said some things, some very hurtful things that he wouldn't have been able to take back. And he definitely would have regretted it. So Cinco says he can see that with all of these couples, communication is lacking and that it needs to get better. And he definitely hit the nail right on the head for the most part. Jared says it's a new day, so he's going to treat it as such. Jay and Tatiana are talking in the kitchen, and tonight it's supposed to be Jared and Charlie's turn to cook for everyone. So Jay is supposed to be assisting them. Now, Tatiana is vegan, and Jay is trying to get the ingredient list together, so he asks Tati if Clay is going to eat vegan. And Tati says she doesn't know. She doesn't expect him to eat vegan just because she does. And she's told him this, and in her confessional, she says Clay says he also wanted to eat vegan, and she was trying to support him in that. But he's on some BS, y'all. He's straight up on some BS. She tells Jay that she saw him eating beef taquitos the day before. And she saw it in the moment and asked him about it. And he lied and said no, he wasn't eating any beef taquitos. But she was like, look, bruh, just eat what you want to eat. Like, do what you want to do. You don't have to eat vegan just because I do. Jay says at dinner he ate the vegan food. But then Jay made him a sandwich with all kinds of meat and non-vegan cheese and mayo on it. And she even toasted the bread in bacon grease. And that fool tore that sandwich up, y'all. He was all into it. So Brandon asked Tati if she feels the vegan thing is fake. And she says yes. And it absolutely is. If he's eating sandwiches with bread that's being toasted in bacon grease, y'all, like, what the F? What the F? Tati feels like the joke is on her because she's supposed to be the only one that doesn't know. And that if he'll lie about something this small, what else will he or what else is he already lying about? She feels she will become resentful towards him because he's already starting to break her trust. His sweet demeanor means not a damn thing to her if she cannot trust him. And I know that's right, child. If you can't trust him, then what's the point? Stick with your instincts, Tati, and use your discernment. And I promise you, you'll never go wrong if you stick to listening to your gut instinct. And you seem very intuitive to me, so go ahead and run with that, lady. In the living room, Jared is talking to Charlie, asking how she feels. She says she doesn't feel like herself today, physically, but mentally she's good. And in his confessional, Jared is feeling somewhat regretful for being so harsh with the F no response he wrote out because he does have love for Charlie. And now he's put his good guy persona back on for y'all. Like it's a sweater. And he asks if there's anything he can do to help Charlie feel better. Charlie says no. And you know when to give me my space. So then he says, yeah, I've told the fellas that our connection is deep and that our and y'all, he could not find the right word to use. So Charlie helps him out and says, our dynamic. And he says, see, you can even finish my sentences. Listen, I have my eye on you, Mr. F. No, like I've got my eye on you. He says our dynamic is heavy and the secret hurt, but you're still Charlie. So he says, in regard to this boo boom room situation, I'm going to leave it to you to let me know when you're comfortable with it. But I'm letting you know right now, you have my full permission to take me whenever you want. And baby, that's all Charlie needed to hear. She says, let's go ahead and book that tonight. Charlie, is it that easy, honey? Like, is that all it takes, child? Outside, Brandon and Keke are eating and talking. And she says, Brandon, you wouldn't talk to me last night. And he was like, you were supposed to help me cook this dinner last night, and you didn't. And instead of helping me, you wanted to drink. So Keke says, listen, I don't need you to monitor my every move. And Brandon says, I'm not trying to monitor you. I'm trying to see if we have a future together. Keke says she's drinking the same amount of alcohol as everyone else, to which Brandon says, that's a lie. In her confessional, Keke says Brandon is being controlling, but they never had that problem online. And Keke, that's probably because he's never seen the side of you online. Like y'all are living in a house together now for the next 3 weeks. So he's pretty much seeing you and how you move all day long now. Online, he didn't get to see that because he wasn't physically there with you, love. So now Keke says, let me monitor my own alcohol intake and I just need you to mind your business. And Brandon says, not a problem. There is absolutely no progress happening here with these two right now. Keke feels that he's trying to control her drinking today, but tomorrow it'll be something else. And the next day it'll be something else. Keke, sis, he hasn't said anything to you about anything else up to this point, but he cares about you. He's noticing a pattern, even in the short time y'all have been in this house together, and he is concerned. And it's hard to watch someone you care about hurting themselves in the way that you are. On top of that, we don't know what kind of trauma Brandon has suffered behind alcoholism and you might be triggering him. And now, y'all, I know how much the loss of a parent hurts. I lost my father 3 years ago, and Lord knows I still have my days where I struggle big time. I know what it is to turn to alcohol and other things to cope, but it's not really coping. It's more like using these things to numb yourself because you just don't want to feel it. But baby, at some point, whatever you're using to numb yourself will stop working. And you're going to have to feel that pain. You're going to have to feel the sadness, the anger, and everything else that comes along with the loss of a parent or the loss with a loved one, period. And whatever it is you're feeling, you need to learn how to work through it and cope so that you can move forward and find some joy in this life. Listen, I've been there, and trust me, I know. So at this point, Brandon says he's done with the conversation. So he gets up and walks away. He says he's tired of Keke, and Keke says she's tired of him. Then she says, "You're not my daddy." Now, maybe I'm being naive here, y'all, but even though there is conflict between these two, not once have they called each other out of their names, or have they been intentionally, like blatantly disrespectful. So I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, if Kiki can wake up and realize what's at stake here, that these two may be able to get it back on track. Nothing has been said yet that cannot be taken back. Nothing's been said that they cannot come back from. So Brandon is back in the kitchen now, sitting, talking to Cinco and Jay about this conversation with Keke. Alicia, who was just outside, ear hustling in on Brandon and Kiki's conversation, she's now in the kitchen saying, don't do that. So in her confessional, Alicia says it's not cool for Brandon to come in and talk about this with everybody, and that he should just be talking it out with Keke directly. Alicia tells Brandon, y'all need to figure this out as a couple. And Brandon says, listen, this is my breathing space. So Alicia says, got you, and leaves out the kitchen. Now, Alicia, I get that you were maybe trying to have Kiki's back here, but Brandon is allowed to vent. You are all in this house for the same reason. You're trying to get to know the person. Y'all have been online dating for months and or years, so you all can relate to each other on that level. If you can't vent to these folks who are sharing the same lived experience, who else can y'all vent to? Brandon is not talking trash about Keke at all. He's just venting, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, Alicia, I'm going to need you to go sit down somewhere, child. But she does not. She comes right back into the kitchen, and Brandon tells Alicia she should be focusing on her relationship with Irvin because that relationship is way off. Alicia says she was just trying to encourage Brandon to talk to Keke, but she'll fall back. So she leaves out the kitchen again. So now Irvin comes in the kitchen, and Brandon is explaining to him what just went down with Alicia. Irvin says that, he'll address it with Alicia and that it's his job. In his confessional, he says Alicia is the problem and she should have just kept her mouth shut. So he leaves out the kitchen and says this is mentally exhausting and that this too is another red flag. Irvin goes to confront Alicia about what just happened with Brandon, and Alicia says, all I've done was mind my business today. And Irvin was like, well, no, not really. But you should just mind your business. Now, I'm going to say he was right with what he said, but his delivery was a little off. Alicia says, you're right, but can you not use a tone like you're using, like you're reprimanding me? Because that's exactly what his tone was giving. He moves to face her and says, I want to be able to protect you, but you keep starting all of these little fires and I cannot put them all out. So now Alicia says that she's stressed out and she just needs to relax her body. So here she goes again, kind of doing what Irvin accused her of doing when they were out speaking with that therapist. She's using her illness as a way to get out of a conversation she just no longer wants to engage in. And she starts chanting, y'all. She starts chanting and speaking in tongues. Irvin gets up to walk away, but says, all I'm saying is just don't do it. Alicia says, do not talk to me like that. And she's like, what's going on here? Is it the spirit of this house that's causing you to come at me like this? So y'all, I'm like, what is this woman on at this point? Because she just cannot have a regular conversation with someone. Somebody cannot bring anything to her attention without her becoming like extremely defensive. And how do you talk to somebody like that? You can't. How do you try to carry on a relationship with somebody that you cannot have a simple conversation with? It's impossible. Brandon and Keke go down to speak with Taronda, who says she knows they've been dealing with some things over the last week or so. So she's brought in Dr. Allie. Dr. Allie is a relationship coach, and she's there to help them talk through everything. Brandon says he's worked through some trauma in his life related to alcohol, and that his mom's husband drank and he and his mother divorced behind it. So Keke says, I don't need Brandon judging me because his stepdad drank. She's empathetic to how Brandon feels, but she just does not want to feel judged for her drinking. For her, the time in the house is like a vacation. She's a social drinker, so she's trying to have fun. So now Dr. Ali asks, how many drinks is a reasonable amount of drinks to have in a night? And Brandon says there should be a 3-drink limit. Keke says 2 or 3 drinks and 2 or 3 shots over the span of an entire night. So Dr. Ali says there is an actual guideline for binge drinking. And that guideline would be 4 drinks a night and even less for women. So Keke was less than thrilled to hear this. Dr. Ali asked if she always drank like this, and Keke says no. About a year ago was when she started drinking like this. Her mom was her best friend, and her mom passed away. So Dr. Ali says it seems like alcohol is being used as a coping mechanism for Keke, and that she's self-medicating. Then she turns to Brandon and she says that when Keke says the word control as it relates to Brandon, it equates to anxiety, to Brandon's anxiety, which is related to his trauma. So when he's voicing his concern to Keke about the drinking, it's coming from concern, but it's also coming from anxiety, and that it's translating as being over controlling. And because they're just meeting in person, it may be a little bit too much for this point in their relationship. Brandon is really taking all of this in, and he says he understands. And Dr. Ellie then turns to Keke and says, instead of using alcohol to make you feel better, turn to Brandon and see if he can help you feel better. And that sounds very reasonable to me. So Keke also seems to be taking this in, and she says, okay. So now Dr. Ali dismisses Brandon, but continues to talk to Keke. But before Brandon leaves, y'all, and I love this, he hands Keke a rose and he says, this has been great. Y'all, this was so freaking sweet. It was so cute. And I love seeing him show so much care and kindness towards Keke. He says instead of reacting out of his emotion in the future, he'll take a step back before approaching the situation so he doesn't seem so controlling. Y'all, this man has exhibited a level of patience that I have not seen from most men, even in my own life. Y'all, I love this. So the therapist asks Keke how she's feeling, and Keke says that she's lonely. Dr. Ali says she feels there's something else that Keke just isn't saying. So now, at this point, Keke reveals her secret. If y'all remember back in episode 1 or 2, Keke says that she had a secret that she needed to tell Brandon. Well, the secret that she reveals was that she was in a relationship with her ex for 8 years, and this man cheated on her repeatedly and never put her first, and she doesn't want to experience that again. But then Dr. Ali says, well, how long ago was this relationship? Keke says it was 4 months ago, but she's been online dating Brandon for the last 4 years. So there was absolutely some overlap. I hope this was, and I hope this is the only secret that Keke is keeping from Brandon. Like, I hope there is nothing else, because this right here is enough. You were in a relationship for 8 years. You've been online dating Brandon for 4 years, and your relationship with your ex just ended 4 months ago. Child, good night. Good night. That is crazy. You need to go ahead and let Brandon know what's up, because if he finds out from anybody other than you, and if this is not handled with the kind of care that Brandon has been showing you, Keke, this can blow all up in your face. And I'm just really hoping it doesn't, because it seems like Brandon would be good for you. He's a nurturer. You need that right now. and he really does care about you. So I hope y'all can get this together. So later on, back in the house, the Never Ever Mets are getting ready to go to Top Golf. They're gonna hang out and have a nice little chill date night. When they're getting ready to go on this date, the men take a shot of sake, including Brandon. And he says, I gotta let Keke know I took this shot so we can keep some open communication. Jared is riding in the back of the car with Charlie, saying he's looking forward to hitting his little dance tonight. And Charlie says she's looking forward to it too. Y'all, this man cannot wait to get in it, okay? He cannot wait to hit it. In another car, Tatiana says she's annoyed with Clay and all of his lying tendencies. In the car with Keke and Brandon, they're talking about their therapy session and they like the way it went. He lets Keke know about the shot he took back at the house, and she's happy the fellas got him to take a shot. At Top Golf, all of the couples take a shot and toast to having a great night. Alicia and Irvin seem to be getting along better, y'all. He places her golf ball on the tee so she doesn't have to bend down and do it. And then he's standing behind her to help her with her swing. And in her confessional, Alicia says she wants to reconnect with him and bring their focus back to why they came there in the first place. Keke and Brandon are more relaxed. They're both having some drinks, and Keke is loving a child like she's in her element here. Clay is doing what he wants with his club. Like, I don't know what the hell Clay is doing without golf club. I don't know if he's playing golf. I don't know if he's pretending to be in a video game. Clay is doing whatever. Jay and Cinco, they're totally in their own world. It seems they've had a great connection from the start. Alicia and Irvin are sitting in a booth eating, and Alicia is chair dancing to the music, just kind of in her groove. And then the dating bliss ends. Irvin looks over at Alicia in no particular way, y'all. He was just looking. And she says, "What? I can't dance?" And Irvin is like, "I haven't said a word." And then Brittany echoes him. She's like, "You haven't said anything." He's like, "Yeah, I know." So he was like, "That was weird." Alicia says, "Weird?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I hadn't said a thing." So in Alicia's confessional, she's complaining about not being able to be her authentic self and being called weird by Irvin. And Alicia, you are being a little weird here. Like, you are so insecure with yourself, honey, and you're projecting that onto Irvin. Do you think that's fair? Like, listen, girl, you are a beautiful woman, and I'm sure you have a lot to offer, but baby, you need to work on your confidence and your self-esteem because all of this, like all of what you're doing here, it's nothing but a setup for a step back with you two. She says he's emotionally dysregulated, but girl, the only emotionally dysregulated person I'm seeing here in this moment is you. Brittany is irritated that Ty isn't paying any attention to her at all. Like, he's cheering on the other fellas, he's chit-chatting with him, and from what I see, he's not really saying anything to Brittany at all. In her confessional, Brittany says people make time for the people and things they want to. And this could be why they've never met in person until now. She does not feel like a priority to Ty at all. Ty is over there prioritizing them corny jokes, child. So to herself, Brittany says, never settle for less than what you deserve. And Ty definitely didn't hear that because he wasn't paying any attention at all. He didn't hear a word. Tatiana confronts Clay, saying that Jay told her he was eating meat the day before, but today he was eating vegan. So she feels Clay be lying, and does. Clay says he can eat what he wants to. And Tatiana says, yeah, you can eat what you want to, but don't lie about it. And stop trying to make me look stupid. Tatiana says she's pissed because she felt embarrassed. So Cinco pulls Clay aside and he tries to tell him, like, listen, just apologize to her for lying. That's all she wants. Tatiana says he's a fake ass bleep. Clay turns to Tati and says, you need to look at the intention behind what I was doing. Excuse me, sir, the intention behind why you're lying? No, I don't have to look at none of that. Maybe you need to figure out why it's so hard for you to be real and just tell the truth about everything. He says Tati is cutting him off, and she says, yeah, because you're lying. So he says, well, do you just want to go home and not do this anymore? And she says, you can do whatever you want to do. She is very checked out right now, y'all. Clay says, baby, I don't have to lie to you. And she says, but you did. Alexis is asking Tati if she would still talk to Clay if he didn't eat vegan. And she says that doesn't matter to her. It never did. And Clay knew this. He knew he was just trying to project this image of himself to try to impress Tati, I guess. But nah. This is not the way to do it. Not at all. Clay says he just wants peace, and Tati says, you created the situation and now you want peace? Whatever, bro. So golf is over and all of the couples are riding back to the house. Brittany is super irritated and she is ready to get up out of that car with Ty. So they make it back to the house and Jared and Charlie make their way right on over to the boo boom room, y'all. The intimacy suite. She feels 100% supported by Jared, and she's ready to get closer than close, y'all. So they kick the camera crew out of the boom boom room, and they get ready to do the do until they notice cameras up on the walls in the room. So at this point, they said they were just going to cuddle, but one thing led to another, and well, y'all, the do was done. And Charlie says it was phenomenal. The other couples are in the main house. The ladies are in the bathroom, and Alicia is upset about being called weird. She says she was able to see his heart come through while they were getting to know each other online, but now she's disappointed in Irvin. She doesn't think Irvin knows what it feels like to be in a healthy relationship. And Alexis, I have to question that here. Like, do you know what it's like to be in a healthy relationship? Do you know what it's like to have healthy communication with the partner? Because you're not displaying it here at all. Alexis is asking her how the ride home was, and Alicia says Irvin fell asleep. She says, would you want to date somebody who on the second date falls asleep in the car on the ride home? And Alicia, maybe we should manage our expectations a little bit better here. Y'all have been out eating, drinking, no telling what time y'all woke up that day. I mean, maybe the man is just tired, perhaps. And is that a crime? Hell, I mean, I personally can fall asleep anywhere, anytime, any day. It's okay. Like, chick, he's tired. Irvin falling asleep does not mean he's showing a lack of interest. It could just simply mean that he is tired. So Alicia says she's not going to settle. She's going to go on ahead and go to sleep, and she'll sleep on things and see how she feels in the morning. And yeah, girl, get you some rest, and hopefully you can wake up on the better side of the bed and have a better attitude, because right now your attitude, it just really sucks. So the next morning, Charlie comes back to the main house and she's telling the ladies how her night with Jared went. She says it was everything she ever imagined and more. And y'all, I don't think there's a thing Jared could do that would sway how Charlie feels about this man. Like, the boom boom room escapade could have been whack as hell, and she would have still come in singing Jamie B. Jordan's praises. Like, he can do no wrong in her eyes. Tati and Clay are making breakfast. Hers is vegan. His doesn't look like it is. I think I see some bacon on his plate. And I'm glad he's letting go of this whole vegan facade here. He apologizes to Tati for sneaking and eating meat behind her back. And she says, thank you, and says, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to lie. You don't have to act like you want to eat vegan. Just be real. Like, I don't want to look at you any differently, and I was starting to. So just be yourself. Tati forgives him and decides to move forward with him right now. Now, y'all, let's see how this goes down when he finally tells her about this 2-month-old baby of his. Tati says the main thing is she just wants to make sure he's not a liar, like a liar for sport, because that'll make her not want to be with him for real. He says, mm-hmm. And then he's kind of smirking, like that guilty smirk. And he sits there and he continues to eat his eggs. Y'all, Lord help them and help him when he finally tells Tati about this baby. Because I don't think she's going to be up to hear any more confessions or any more lies from him. Like, this is going to be a wrap. So outside, Ty is on the grill, grilling up some salmon. Brittany's in the pool trying not to get her hair wet because she says she and Ty have plans later on. And no, not those kind of plans. But Ty says, oh, yes, we do. Take us to the boom, boom, broom. And Brittany is not here for none of that mess. Like, Ty is joking in front of Clay, acting out for his boys yet again, and Brittany is over him. She says, we will not be going there. And Ty says, ever? Like, ever in life? And she's like, no. So she goes over to talk to Alicia, and she's like, he needs to stop making it seem like something sexual is happening. And Alicia says, well, you know that's what they do. No, Alicia, not all of them. All men do not do that. Some men do know how to act. Ty just may not be one of them. So Ty is coming off as being very performative here, in my opinion. And it's even driving me crazy. So I can just imagine how Brittany feels. Brittany has a cam diary. And in this cam diary, she says over the phone, Ty said he was going to cater to her because that's what she was seeking. Ty said he was going to cook for her, which she has yet to do. And Brittany's love language is acts of service, but Ty seems to be more interested in impressing these other dudes in the house than he is providing any kind of service to Brittany. Brittany asks Ty to make her a drink, and he says, I'm going to take this salmon in the house, I'm going to grab this salad or pasta or whatever he was grabbing, I'm going to bring it out, and then I'll get your drink. So she's annoyed now. She's even more annoyed than she was before. And she says, make sure you're making the right choice here. And he says, well, I think you can wait on a drink. So I know Brittany feels dismissed here. And Brittany wants to feel like the only person in the room. Ty's focus is elsewhere. So now everybody is outside by the pool eating, and Ty is talking to Irvin. Well, more like complaining to Irvin. He says, I was out here grilling, an old girl over there, referring to Brittany. She's just over there sitting in the pool asking me to bring her a drink. Like, you're referring to her as old girl, so you're being disrespectful right here. She says, I can hear you. And he says, you can hear me all you want. You started this. You want me to stop what I'm doing to serve you while I'm cooking and trying to get food out here for everyone else? And she says, you're not a gentleman, but you're trying to act like you are. You're not. I asked you to make me breakfast, asked you to make me lunch, but you haven't done a damn thing. You said you were going to do these things and you haven't done nothing. So Ty says, oh, so I can't do nothing right, huh? And Brittany says, it doesn't look like it. So these two are arguing back and forth over the pool. Everybody sitting around the pool now was starting to feel uncomfortable. And Brittany says she does not do disrespectful men. So she gets up and walks away. Ty says he feels slighted and underappreciated. And now he thinks he's seeing the real Brittany. And he's not digging it. Jared said it seemed like Ty and Brittany were getting along well at first, and it seemed like they were, especially the way that they had got together in that kitchen that first night and prepared that meal for everybody. But now it looks like the honeymoon is over. And y'all, that was the end of this episode. I'm starting to feel like these never ever met maybe should have never ever met in person or online, because the majority of these couples, they're just not meshing well at all. Not at all. I still do have hope that Keke and Brandon will be able to turn it around. Cinco and Jay, they seem like, they are on a good path. And I don't know what's going on with Jared and Charlie, but I hope she gets to see the real Jared before they up and leave this house. But y'all, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you thought of this review. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure that you come back tomorrow for my review for The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And as always, y'all, stay safe, stay blessed, and don't forget to tell someone that you love them today, even if it's just yourself. Love y'all. Peace.